went.
No, because
And Paul George was like, eh. That really hurt.
I mean,
No wonder why Paul George quit.
I don't think we really. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Hopefully, you enjoyed that little intro here. You can thank Zach for that little part. And today we're going to talk about strictly basketball. And so we're going to do what we've been doing now. What happened yesterday, aka last night. So we're going to go through every NBA game. Of course, there's no NFL games. So there was a lot going on in the league. First game was 76ers beat the Knicks 109-104. The only thing I got from that game was Simmons hit his first career three-pointer. And the fans went actually nuts, which is funny to me.
Which just proves that the Knicks are so bad that Simmons can even hit threes on them.
Okay. Yep. And
it was a competitive game, though.
I thought we were going to win. And then, of course, being the better team, you just got to finish a lot better than the Knicks.
I just need to say something.
Yep.
So, I watched, the little bit of the game last night. I didn't watch the whole thing. And I was looking at the stats afterwards, and I was kind of upset about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I go to the stats right here, the Knicks had a higher field goal percentage, three-pointer, and free throws. And I still don't know how we came up top. Just because...
You have the better team, just...
Well, yeah, but...
I mean, when the Celtics played against the Knicks, I think the first time...
We out-rebounded you guys both times.
Yeah, it's severely.
And we grabbed more offensive rebounds than you both times. It's just your team is better.
When you have guys that can put up more shots and get more points
more efficient
than the other team, then it's just going to be a game regardless of percentages and
it just made me upset to know, like...
Well, your team has never been that great at shooting.
No.
I mean, when Jimmy Butler was there, you guys were proficient. You guys weren't, that great.
Yeah, and then now Ben Simmons is going to think he can hit all threes in the world now. And that's how
we waited this long to... He was showing us clips.
15 games in the season, and then to over the summer where he was shooting every video we saw him in the gym, he was shooting a three. And it took him 15 to 16 games to hit one.
Before I got cut off, that's what I was going to say.
I'm sorry. But
yeah.
I don't see Ben Simmons shooting that much threes this year.
He's going to be smart. He's been a smart player. I don't think him making a three is going to change that.
How many threes do you think he's putting up a game?
A game? It's probably going to be rare. It's going to be like one of those situations where it's a open shot, corner shot, that they're either up or they're down.
Which they were down 11-5.
Yeah, so it's going to be one of those. It's going to be one of those rare things, but it's going to be one of those things where like you got to remember that he kind of can shoot threes now. So it's gonna happen at times, I feel like, but definitely not every single game.
I feel like for him though, the key is to do it enough to the point where it does space the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of being just a spot-up shooter, because he is a point guard for that team, being a guy who can shoot off the dribble is going to be important for them, too, to space the offense
with Josh Richardson out. Mm-hmm. He's going to be playing a lot more guard minutes there because Korkmaz can play the forward.
And I like to say, too, that the 76ers put up a decent amount of assists.
How much?
32 or 17.
Oh, 32 is pretty high.
32 is with the league average like 25, 26.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
That's higher than
no, not 32. 32.
Oh, 30 is still pretty high.
Yeah, 30 assists on the night for the team.
It shows that they could space the floor efficiently. I mean, it's not like they have to worry about it, but they could.
I think Brett Brown is realizing that he's on the hot seat and that he needs a better game plan.
That too.
That's just my opinion. But speaking of coaches, Wizards beat the Spurs 138-132. What do you think Greg Popovich and the Spurs should do? They sit 5-10 right now as we speak.
I mean, I think they should try and trade DeMar away. Mm-hmm. That's just been my personal opinion since pretty much he got there. It's great for a player to be underneath one of the best coaches in basketball history, but he doesn't really fit what we've seen Popovich do before, especially with the big man-centric teams that he's had. Mm-hmm. Like, his guards are always complementary to the bigs, not the bigs being complementary to the guards. Yeah. And I think if they trade away... if they trade DeRozan away and build around Aldridge, even though he is older, you get young guys that learn how to play with a good big, and then when those young guys are experienced, you draft or trade for a better established big. Mm-hmm. And then I feel like if Pop is still there, or whoever takes over the team, if it's Duncan or the female, I forget her name, whoever takes over the team, getting rid of DeRozan's
There
probably
was like 3 or
high
4
point.
coaches appointed as the head coach when Greg Pop got ejected the other night.
Yeah, it was Tim Duncan, the other man, and then the female that is the assistant there.
The only reason why we know Tim Duncan is because he's one of the greatest power forwards. But I think if I'm the Spurs, I'm okay with going to 7th seed because it doesn't matter who they draft. It seems like they just are good professional
They're just
basketball
going
players.
They're just
And their G League team, like they know how to develop their players, especially with Tim Duncan there being a player. A little low-profile player can help guys. That like Doncic Murray right now, like he was like a lotto to mid-round pick and
Low profile kind of guy too. Not really like big
Brian
post.
Forbes, Derek White. You know, like you don't hear of these guys. Like Derek White almost made a FIBA Cup team because he was destroying them in practice. You know, it's like those grit and grind guys that aren't afraid to put in extra work. The Spurs should get young players. I think they should trade LaMarcus Aldridge too. His contract's a little bit on the unfriendly side. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know for a guy who's 36 who relies on shooting the ball and he can't really move around that much. Like
Not really the best rebounder, but a good one.
Yeah.
I just feel like they're in a tough spot. Like, the coaching's there. Obviously, they got one of the greatest coaches.
the players.
It's just the players. You got Aldridge. He's good, proficient, but DeMar DeRozan, his play style is
He's
just
not
like
efficient either, so it's kind of tough.
DeMar.
Yeah, other than from like mid range in the paint, but
That's the thing. He perfected like close mid range areas where like it's kind of like Ben Simmons, where you know he's not going to really shoot the three. He doesn't really have the three, so that kind of negates a little bit of spacing. And I just feel like right now it's a tough time. Maybe try and get rid of DeMar, but I don't know if teams would really be interested in that.
To be honest,
There's
there's definitely teams that are like the Pistons and maybe even like the Sixers who could use a better 2-guard. That's not afraid of trading away their young pieces. What do you think?
Like a win now type of team, you mean?
Or
Would you be interested in DeMar on the Sixers?
I would.
For who?
you can get rid of Josh Richardson
Give Josh Richardson a pick.
and Kuzma or Korkmaz maybe.
Korkmaz.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean,
But I don't think Pop wants those pizzas.
But my thing is like even if he does go to the Sixers, you got 2 guys that can't like efficiently shoot threes.
Ben Simmons is going to get there, man.
Ben
Simmons is going to get there, and that's going to inspire DeRozan.
He's got to prove himself. He can't just hit 1 3.
well, I think in that situation is that we don't have like knockdown shooters. We don't, we need a little bit of that. We have Mike Scott. He can shoot the ball.
He's more of an athletic type of guy.
Yeah. Ben Simmons, he doesn't really shoot the ball, but he goes more to the paint. Same thing with Joel Embiid.
Joel Embiid
he can kind of
floor spacing 5.
Well, yeah, but
I'd rather have him inside the arc.
That's kind of what hurt him and come around playoff time. But
I mean, I can definitely see more the trade deadline teams like the Pistons. If we look at it, yeah, teams like maybe Orlando, trade for like 4 more All-Stars or like what you're going to get out of the players like DeMar. I think he would fit very well in Detroit. Physical, not great at shooting threes.
So here's 2 teams that we've talked about on the trades a lot. So since we're talking about a potential DeMar trade, do you think the Trailblazers are a good fit, or do you think the Mavericks are a good fit? Because those are 2 teams that we said should pick up another piece, whether it be a big man or a shooter.
Honestly, I think the Trailblazers just have to make sure Lillard's healthy before they do anything, because they are also 5-11, and they play tonight against the Bucks, and I'm assuming that's an L. Like I have the Bucks winning that game.
Is he playing or no?
No, he's not.
So yeah, probably give that.
And
to
then they
Bucks.
just got Melo, and I think too much changes on a roster can really hurt, especially when they just got Whiteside. And looking back at it, they're the 14th seed in the West right now, and they made the Western Conference Finals last year. So obviously, there's definitely something wrong in that locker room that needs to change. But there's still time. There's still time, of course, but like if you get we're almost at the quarter of the season, right?
Yeah.
We got 6 more games till then.
Yes, sir.
And it's like when you get there and you're still 14th seed. Like it's different when you're a 9th and 10th seed to a 14th seed. Like I don't know if they're gonna hit the panic button at 21 games or 40 games because that'd be the trade deadline essentially.
My thing was they just picked up Melo. You gotta give him some time.
So what about the Mavericks then? What are we thinking about?
To be honest, I think that they don't really need a guy who's on the slower side of things.
Just some food for thought. I figured we talk about that.
I was thinking about it too, like today, when I was writing it and everything, and I was like, I don't think DeMar really fits in either of those schemes. To be honest, I don't think he fits in any scheme other than the Raptors one, to be honest.
I was just about to say that, to be honest.
Like, I don't think Raptors probably... Kyle Lowry would be probably 100% down for that.
I think Siakam would also.
Yeah, but...
He's a two guard that can move the ball well.
Yeah, but the Spurs are probably going to want, like...
Something
Siakam.
big.
Yeah. They're not going to want Siakam. That's unrealistic. They're probably going to want, like, Van Vliet and, like, DeLon Wright and Chris Boucher, who's... is playing a lot of NBA minutes now instead of G League minutes. So, and then maybe like a pick that they originally traded for Kawhi.
Just to get a pick back.
Yeah, I don't
Anyway.
know. I don't see that being realistic, but it could be it could be more on the more realistic side, just not too realistic.
On a media realistic side, yeah.
All right, next game. The Nets beat the Hornets 101-91. Kyrie again is having problems with his shoulders, but they didn't lose this game, so not too surprising. Heat beat the Cavs 124-100. We talk about this Heat team a lot here. I don't know if it's because they're good or something, but we talk about team ball, and I think they replicate that perfectly, having 7 players over 10 points, and Duncan Robinson, who is a two-way player, dropping 29 points against a Cavs team that might hit the departure button on Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson, the trade deadline. But is this Heat team like the best team all around in at least the East, or do you think the Bucks and the Celtics still have like a more depth on their team?
Personally, I think this team shows a better chemistry, but firepower wise, yeah, you might have 7 players over 10 points, but how many of those guys are hitting the 25, 26 other than Duncan Robinson and probably Jimmy Butler that are really a high caliber producing offensive players? I like what they're doing, don't get me wrong. That team looks like in maybe a year or two that could be a crazy looking team.
If Jimmy Butler stays healthy and continue his play, because he's also 30-31. So.
That too. So the combination of them keeping that core together, their health, and like the same staff and the same like schedule that they can keep themselves on.
Same management.
Yeah. And then the East staying the way that it is, because when Kevin Durant comes back next year, it's going to close up a little bit. You know that the Nets are going to be a more contending team. They're going to shore up
like
one of those
the Pacers,
spots.
who don't have a superstar yet. Like they don't have their superstar back yet. It's going to hurt when Kevin Durant comes back.
I feel like the Heat has always been a very aggressive team. Even
like in their front office or on the court?
Just on the courts in general. Like I just think that, what's the coach's name?
Eric Spoelstra.
I think
Eric Spoelstra.
Yeah.
He, looks for those, very intense, aggressive players. And that's what, obviously there's guys out there, whatever, I want to play, and then there's guys that, I want to fucking win. Yeah.
I mean, they're 10-3 right now, and look, every time I watch this Heat team, like Jimmy Butler looks like a completely different person. He's not the I'm gonna get a bucket here, because you got guys like Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson apparently
better
can score.
I'm gonna get a bucket.
And Derrick Jones Jr. You can just always throw him a lob with 3 seconds left in the shot clock, and it seems like they go in and Goran Dragic can still score. And if Deion Waiters comes back for this club, he can shoot the rock a little bit. But, at the end of the day, though, like, the Heat players know in the fourth quarter who to give the ball to, and it's Jimmy. And Jimmy knows that if it's not on tonight, he can't force it like he did in Minnesota. Like that Minnesota Timberwolves team, I think people forget that they were a 3rd seed in the West with Warriors having Durant, before he got hurt. And then when he got hurt, they dropped all the way down to 8th. And, of course, it was like 5 games apart, from 3 to 8. Or 3 games apart, but I still think that it just shows that Jimmy Butler brings teams better, despite him in the past being a locker room problem. Personally, I would have had the Sixers pick him over Tobias Harris, but I don't understand why they did it, because Joel Embiid's your guy, Ben Simmons is your guy. You don't need Jimmy Butler to be taking like these shots away from, especially like Ben Simmons, for example. He could ruin their confidence. But I think what Jimmy Butler's doing with this Heat team is perfect.
Yeah, I think
for our perfect run for the Eastern Conference.
From what he's shown, I think it fits the scheme a lot better than it has in other teams.
Yeah, I think the same about the Heat.
My only thing is they did have 7 plays over 10 points, but it's good to show that their superstar or their all-star Butler isn't the only one that's able to be proficient, the only one being able to score. Mm-hmm. So it just takes a little pressure off his back to like compared to like the Wolves, where like they were kind of talking bad about him. Mm-hmm. Like he would miss a shot, it would be on him, mm-hmm. and they would kind of gang up on him. Where here it's like he doesn't have the spotlight on him, where like he could pass the ball, he could have people score, he could be more of like that. But my thing is with like the Celtics, they have that, but I think they just have it better. Like where they're clutching from
they're
before.
Like a year or two in advance of what the Heat are.
Yeah,
right?
So definitely like 1-2 years from now, they're definitely going to be probably close to the top if they keep the same people.
Okay, so I mean, the Heat are a pretty good team, right? But of course, there are better teams in the East, and we're going to talk about the next one, the Bucks being the Hawks, 135-127. And ever since Middleton went down with his injury, this Bucks team has looked the same, if not better, with spacing wise. And now teams know that, hey, we don't have to, we don't know who's going to step up. With Giannis, he's going to do his thing. And then the next person in line is usually Middleton. So defenses are aware of that. So instead of slowing down Giannis, they kind of stop Middleton and be like, okay, let's limit him down to 10 or less points so it's a closer game. But you had guys like Eric Bledsoe scoring 20+, George Hill scoring 20+ off the bench multiple times. Wesley Matthews has stepped up. Brook Lopez stepped up. And do you think that, of course, Middleton signed that big extension, over $100 million over the offseason, because this is the best player since, I would think, Brandon Jennings Giannis has played with. Do you think that they need Middleton for a while, or do you think they should be all set? We'll start with you.
No, they definitely need him. Not a definite, but they do need him. Like you said, just they'll have dual threats. They have Giannis that honestly does what Giannis does. Mm-hmm. That's already hard enough to stop. Mm-hmm. But you have somebody to kick out to, like Middleton. It's just watching them play. It's just like those two are the main scorers. But like you said, you got somebody coming off the bench that could put up buckets too. The Bucks team is probably like in the East one of the best, like, how do I say, fortitude teams. Like their players.
They're the deepest team. One of the deepest teams.
Yeah, they have the players that are there to score. They got Giannis that is always a presence, that double team that leave a guy open in the corner, or leave a guy open on the arc, and know that they're gonna shoot pretty proficiently. I think Milton does need to stay.
What, you guys got any?
I think, even though the Bucks, are doing fine without him, it's like peanut butter to your jelly. You always need that extra player that you've played with for a while to be on that team to have chemistry. Because, in the beginning of the year, Giannis was very tired from,
FIBA,
yeah, when he was playing during the summertime and the off season, and at my standpoint, you can't have a guy be tired like that when it's
superstar.
When it's running time, like when it gets deeper into the season, when playoffs come around, whatever, Giannis can't be doing all the work. He can do all the work.
But in a 7-game series, teams are going to catch on.
Yeah, but you can't, you're going to get tired, and you just need, that one guy that you can trust. Mm-hmm. Obviously he does trust his teammates, but yeah, I think he trusts him a little bit more to work.
mean, Middleton was an all-star last year. I'm not saying he's a bad player.
Uh-huh.
But I just think that, I think you might say this is that they should slowly make sure that he's actually 100%.
Yeah, so what I was going to touch on was something that Nick briefly mentioned, is that you don't need him right now. Mm-hmm. You don't need him to win these 5 out of 8 regular season games, because if you guys can go on a stretch where he's out, where you guys play, say, 15 games, he misses however many weeks it is. Mm-hmm. If he misses 15 games and you guys can win 10 of those, you guys are in good shape. Mm-hmm. This is a team that shows that their regular season is when they play very, very efficient basketball, but come postseason is when they need to play better basketball. Because what happens is teams get the flow of what that offense does on a nightly basis, and you say around game 3, where you see Giannis doing the same thing and over, you start to stop that, which is where a Middleton comes in very handy, or a Bledsoe, or a Lopez. So these guys getting the chance now during the regular season to step up and show Giannis, hey, trust us, we will help you. Mm-hmm. Don't take the load off your shoulders, just let us help you carry it, type of deal. So him coming back, now does not help them at all.
Mm-hmm.
If he comes back in, say even I think it's a 3 to 4 week injury with his leg, but if he comes back in 5 weeks and they can stay positive throughout that and stay top 5,
which I think they will be, because
just milk the injury.
Yeah.
Don't hurt yourself coming back. Don't risk coming back too early, because Giannis, in all honesty, does not need you. Giannis is going to do the same thing.
Not yet, at least. No.
Yeah, come playoff time, you're going to be his best friend. But now, you just take it easy. Hope Giannis doesn't overdo it, and hopefully the organization will handle it correctly, and let the players handle it correctly.
I think this team reminds me of a Kyrie-less Celtic team. Like, the next guy's just going to step up and do what he does. And then when Middleton comes back, everyone knows that he is the second best player on that team, because he is an all-star.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he got that big contract. George Hill's past his prime. Lopez has refined his game. Robin Lopez isn't that great. Wesley Matthews is never that great. You know, Eric Bledsoe, I still think he's a really good player, but he's not going to outscore Middleton, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next game. The Raptors beat the Magic 113-97. Vucevic and Aaron Gordon both had ankle injuries. I don't know what to tell you, because they both had new contracts. So, honestly, the Magic are just going to be an 8th seed, 7th seed like they were last year.
Yeah, I don't see this team getting much better or doing anything better than they did last year, especially with injuries. I think the best case scenario for them is that these guys have a healthy next year, because the East is pretty open, other than the top 3 or 4 that we've said that are definitely going to be up there: the Bucks, the Sixers, the Celtics, possibly
the Heat, Pacers,
the Nets,
Sixers,
Heat, Pacers, whatever. But I think best situation, kind of similar to what I said with Middleton, let your guys get healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of them, they don't really have any defined scoring options or premier players. Like you just said, those are pretty much the team's biggest contracts.
Yeah.
Get healthy.
Markelle Fultz, though.
Do what you gotta do.
Markelle Fultz, I think it just looks at an opportunity of less shots for them, more shots for Fultz. And at this point, he just needs confidence and that rhythm back. And, of course, the Sixers, they said that, they wish for the best of him, which you always do. You don't want to disrespect the man. He did nothing wrong. He just wasn't ready for a team that was ready to contend, which we've talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, the Magic are in a good spot to where they can develop good players like Mo Bamba. Isaac is still a step away from having a developed game. Aaron Gordon, still not an all-star yet, but he could put up 30 any night. Vucevic is their best player, I think.
He's been scoring 20 plus.
Vucevic has been scoring 20 plus since he's got there.
Yeah, he's been doing really
and
good.
I think guys like Fultz, young guys, I know they have other guards that I can't pronounce their names, are on that team that can use the minutes in their G League. You can always call up guys from the G League, to be honest.
And just see what
that
you
doesn't
got.
hurt a team that isn't making the playoffs.
Do a little depth test.
Anything for the Magic or
Nah.
anything for the Raptors, other than this is what we expect at this point in the season.
Yeah, honestly, it's just same old. It's you expect them to win most of the games, especially the easy ones.
Yeah.
But
well, speaking of easy, the Mavs killed the Warriors 142-94. Luka had a 35-point triple-double. I don't think we should talk about this game a lot because Luka did the same exact stat line 2 days ago.
I just want to say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think in 3 to 4 years, we're going to be talking about this guy in the same air that we did the previous people that have ran their decades and their years, like the Curry, the LeBron, the Kobe. I think
whole generation.
I think he's going to run this generation. Like the kids growing up, they're going to know who Luka Doncic is.
Yeah, it's going to be Giannis, Trae Young, Luka.
Yeah, so
foreign guys.
Like it's going to be
Trae Young, but
it's going to be the 2 best players in the league. I believe are going to be foreign guys, and everybody knows who Giannis is. Giannis is stepping into the light and is really making the most of it. He's a freak. We all know this. We just talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Luka is going to be that guy come 2023, 2024 in that area. He's going to be
the
the guy in the league.
The first man with a $200 million or $400 million contract. Either him or Giannis.
If the NBA keeps expanding, yeah.
Yes. Like, they're going to have, like, a 20-year, like a baseball contract.
Yeah, a baseball contract.
Like,
where
the
he's locked
Bucks
up
and
for
Mavs
12
are
years.
trying to lock up their young stars. Because Giannis is 24, 25. Technically, guys don't hit their prime till 28. So, Giannis is going to be around for a while. Luka's going to be around for 4 or 5 years after Giannis. So,
I'll put him in the greats talk when he makes the playoffs and he could still pull this off.
Yeah, we still haven't seen him in the playoffs,
I just
which
feel
isn't
like
his fault. But.
Yeah, I just feel like what we said earlier before is that You got just Luka pretty much doing a triple double in high scoring games.
Mm-hmm.
How long is he going to keep that up for?
Of course. Yeah.
Regular season.
It could be another Harden case where he has a great regular season and then come March and April he's just sluggish and tired, which I don't think happens.
Yeah, but at the point is like playoffs. You're playing them. Let's say a total of 7 times. You're gonna learn.
Yeah, especially in the West.
This kid is doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we have somebody like inch closer to bait a pass, we have somebody a step back to where if he wants to drive, it's just I don't see him doing this in the postseason on his first year at least.
Yeah.
But if he could keep this up, it's not gonna hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like he needs to prove himself in order to be talked about the greats.
If we don't even have to look at the standings, we can just watch the teams play. They're either going to play the Clippers, the Nuggets. I'm looking at it. The Jazz. If the Suns get out of their slump, they could play them. Or even if the Rockets drop. That's not an easy first round.
We're not mentioning the Lakers.
What? Because I don't think they're going to drop to a 5th or 4th seed to where they play the Mavericks the first round.
Oh, so you think the Mavericks?
Yeah, like their first round, like playoff.
I mean, if they come in at 8, they'll play the Lakers.
Yeah, if they come in at 8, which I don't think. I think they're a 6th seed or 5th seed, 4th at best.
If they did, that would be a quick.
It's still going to be a tough first round, especially for your first time in the playoffs. Of course, KP's never been in the playoffs either.
Who on that team has really had experience in the playoffs?
I don't know.
Barnes?
Barnes is not on the team anymore.
Well, Barnes left.
He's on the Kings.
Nobody.
Carlisle.
We're going to call nobody.
I mean, I don't.
And Carlisle's...
He's not playing, but he can always coach it. But, yeah, anyways, next game. Bulls beat the Pistons 109-89. Nothing there.
No, it's just something they probably should have.
Yeah. The Jazz beat the Timberwolves 103-95. Karl-Anthony Towns was guarded by the defensive player of the year twice now, Rudy Gobert.
2-time reigning, yeah.
He had 14 points. That's the only highlight I saw of the game. I mean,
Cat's that type of guy. He needs somebody on his team like Jimmy Butler, or needs somebody in his corner where they're pushing him. I haven't seen much improvement from Cat over the past 2 years. He's the same type of player he was 2 years ago.
I'm just going to be a little sarcastic. They have Andrew Wiggins, the best top 5 scorer. I'm sorry. All right, go ahead.
But no, Karl-Anthony Towns hasn't really developed or added anything to his game. He's still got the same footwork. If you watch him as a big man, footwork is the most important thing. Ask anybody, even Shaq, who just bodied you. Footwork is the most important thing. Mm-hmm. And you don't see him doing anything different. It's the typical catch it, face up, and then try and get like a fancy type of shot. I mean, he's a big man, and it works sometimes, but against those premier defenders.
Player of the year.
Yeah. Like, teams are going to start catching on, and they're going to start realizing, and that's been a theme of today. Like,
I mean, they could catch on. It's different when they catch on and stop him versus catch on slowing him down. Catch on and they can't stop him. And right now, when you're playing against a Rudy Gobert, and I don't know who else is really great at center position in the West. My apologies. Well, defensive-wise, at least, yeah, Jokic is good, but I don't think he's good defensively.
Davis is gonna.
I was just gonna say that Davis is gonna guard him regardless of
all-around great defense.
Yeah, like Montrezl Harrell though, but like Cat is taller, so he can always just.
But that's why he's facing him. Like if he faces him up, Montrezl Harrell wins that matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I think if 14 points is a huge problem, especially how they have aspects to make the playoffs, especially because Wiggins is having a career year, shooting efficiently, scoring a bunch of baskets.
That's a guy who you've seen develop.
But the thing is with this team is that Cat is still their backbone.
Yeah.
It shows that if you can stop Cat and slow him down, you can win that game with no problem. Mm-hmm. The thing is like you said, in the West, they're going to have to make arrangements where, let's say, for example, AD is going to have to guard him. Kawhi or Paul George are going to probably take turns guarding him. I mean, it's going to be a height, but you got to have your best defender on him.
I think Kawhi is better off doing that than Paul.
Well, I was just throwing it out.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It just shows that put your best defense guy on him and shut him down, or at least slow him down to 14 points. It isn't bad, but it's not Cat standards.
Yeah, no.
It's just average, that's a bench player.
Yeah, if you can put him down into that standard, you're gonna end up probably winning that game.
Yeah, like he's an all-star. I mean, I think I put an asterisk next to it because it is against the 2-time reigning defensive player of the year. Mm-hmm. And Rudy Gobert can block any shot, being lengthy he is. And I think that Jazz team is really good, especially if they can click with Conley. That team could go deep in the playoffs because they've made the playoffs twice and they've ran into Portland twice and they've lost.
Which is why the Celtics should have gotten Taco.
Should have what?
Should play Taco. All right, so the Nuggets beat the Rockets 105-95. The Rockets had 20 turnovers, and the Nuggets had 15 offensive rebounds.
I think we've had this conversation before. I'm pretty sure it was you. I told somebody that the Rockets are going to be a turnover team.
Yes.
Being that James Harden and Russ both struggle in that department.
Mm-hmm.
Not frequently, but when they do, it's just when it rains, it pours.
If you looked at like the stats, not even the score, I looked at the stats after I looked at the score, obviously, and I was kind of looking at like how did the Rockets lose this game, and then I look at the team stats and the 20 turnovers to the Nuggets like 11 stood out, and next thing you look at is second chance points. We don't even have to look at it, right? So 14 seconds, right? Say they don't turn over the ball. And those 15 times they don't turn over the ball, it's a 30-point swing. Just on 2-pointers, right? I'm not even going to go to 3-pointers because if they scored every time. So you take like 5 rebounds away, it's a tied game. Offensive rebounds away, it's a tied game at 95-95. I just think that Jokic, with that team offensively, you got if Rockets, Capella has to understand that instead of trying so much on offense, try harder on defense because Jokic is a great offensive player, not a great defensive player. Mm-hmm. And that the Nuggets are a really deep team, and that they're really well run.
Nobody
where
on
the
team really
Rockets
gets
is more
tired of
freelanced it a little bit, but I'm not worried because the West is very competitive, and they're all going to be a game back of each other when it comes to playoff time. It's probably going to be one of the more competitive playoffs in our lifetime. I don't know about pre-2000 playoffs, other than the Rockets, the 6th-seeded Rockets going to the finals. Maybe that year was pretty competitive, but other than that. I think this could be a first round game series.
Yeah, this could be a first round matchup without a doubt.
I'm not too worried about it, but the 20 turnovers I would be. Any other thing you guys want to add?
You don't worry about the loss. You worry about the stats within the loss, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
You can't let those rebounds happen. You gotta get guys crashing like PJ Tucker and Russ, who loves to grab his rebounds. You gotta get people on the boards that aren't just your center, and that's a big issue, especially when Capella is such an offensive minded center that you see.
Mm-hmm.
But take it. Work with it.
Leave it in the past.
Leave it in the past and keep moving. Every game matters more than the last one when you're in the West, and it's going to be, like you said, a game back. So,
all right, you guys got anything or
nope? No.
All right, so I think which was the game of the night. Excuse me, the Clippers beating the Celtics in a high anticipated 107-104 game. Also, PG and the fun guy first time playing each other. Tatum had 30 points. Being guarded by those two. Walker, though, he only had 13 and then got Kawhi. Kawhi blocked his game-tying three-pointer at the end of the game. My question was raised is, if Tatum has 30 points, are you going to try to get him the ball? Or are you just looking at whatever play Brad Stevens calls, you're just going to run it and be like, hell, we made it. We competed. If it goes in, it goes in. If not, well, what do you think, Mina?
Regardless of the loss, I take this as an absolute win.
Why is that?
I just feel like we are that much. I'm not trying to like toot my own horn, but the Celtics are that much of a threat to where they finally get Paul George and Kawhi Leonard to play against each other. Mm-hmm. That's how I kind of took it. But also the fact that Tatum guarding by two of the best in the league defensively, putting up 30 points. Without a doubt, is top notch. Mm-hmm. It shows that he got out of his slump from the beginning of the season to where he was shooting bad, to where he is a reliable guy. And then this just shows that we finally play a difficult team. We put up a good fight. Mm-hmm. There was a chance, we blew it. It just shows that, like, okay, we could compete. We know that we have this mentality that, all right, we're on a win streak, but let's just say we lost to the Kings. Bounce back. We lost. We're going to probably bounce back again. But it's just like, all right, take a step back, relax. We played a really great team.
Yeah.
Let's analyze the footage, see what we could do wrong. Now going to what you said, I feel like I would have trusted Brad Stevens regardless of the call.
Yeah. Like if you're Kemba, Brown, Tatum, who and I'm assuming Enes Kanter was on the court at the time, and I don't know who. I don't know who was the last five, but if I'm those three guys, like say you're in Brown's shoes and he calls a play out, and you're like, would you be like, nah, forget that, let's just get Tatum the ball, or would you be like, you know what, Walker should be open, and then Kawhi's just like chasing him down the whole play?
I feel like it was kind of supposed to be like a excuse me, it was supposed to be a, let me try and phrase this, get Kemba the ball, no doubt about that, but I feel like Tatum probably should have took the last shot, but Kawhi probably baited them. They said, all right, they're probably going to have point guard on point guard, which is a fair matchup for Kemba, but Kawhi ended up guarding him, blocking the shot. But in my opinion, you feed the hot hand regardless.
Yeah.
You get him to do anything. You set him 4 other picks for him to run around the whole entire court back and forth until he gets the shot. That's what you got to do.
All right. Yeah. What's your take on this, guys?
I think in that situation, Brad Stevens is a really good coach. We know this. Like, we've talked about this. I think in that situation, to what Zach said, they try to get the ball away from whoever's being guarded by Kawhi or getting guarded by Paul George, because I feel like that defense is good for those crucial moments where, hey, you're not going to get an easy shot, you're not going to get a good look. So in their mind, they didn't imagine Kawhi collapsing onto that shot where he did.
Yeah.
And if time allotted for it, I'm sure Kemba wouldn't have shot it. I don't think that was the game plan. I think Brad Stevens is smart enough to know that, hey, we have better shooters on the team. We have a hotter hand on the floor. Let's try and get it to somebody who can shoot it and get over a defender potentially, because Kemba's not that tall of a guy.
Yeah.
He's not going to jump over you. He's not going to really do anything. He's a create his own shot, not a spot up. But
they needed a 3, so
I mean, you put up what you're given. Like Zach said, this isn't really. It's a loss in the record book, but when you go and you watch film, you're going to take away the good things. Because nothing really stood out to me, like at that box score. There wasn't really a quarter where they struggled.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you're going to get outscored by one of the better teams in the league, but end of the day, it's just a loss in the column. You don't really take it to heart.
I think having Kawhi only score like not 20 points, I think it was like 12 or 14 or something like that, and Paul George scoring plus 20 and slowing them down offensively, kind of off the rhythm a little bit. Because we know Kawhi is that the he's not gonna shoot it from deep 3-pointer all the time. Like, he's a mid-range guy. We've seen this in the finals. His snatchback, his fadeaways, his and I think their first time together, it was a little bit sloppy on their department.
But
yeah, it was a bumpy road.
They were playing. They were pretty good team.
Yeah, they're playing the best team in the East right now.
Premier team.
The hottest team, formerly the hottest team in the NBA, and I just think that both these teams do have stuff they'll tweak a little bit before to be like, hey, we're actually can go hand in hand in the finals. This could be a finals matchup. I wouldn't complain if last night's game was game 1 of the finals. I have no complaints with either of these teams, other than maybe giving Tatum the last shot. Again, I wasn't really watching that game. I kind of watched the highlights this morning, and I just noticed that Kemba got blocked on the last shot, and looked at the box score and had Tatum at 30. But do you think with the Celtics losing here, do you think it helps the Sixers out in any chance of looking at this film and seeing what can you break down, or do you think the Celtics are just a way better team?
Better than the Clippers or the Sixers?
Sixers.
Obviously, they have pieces, and they've been using them to their potential, obviously, because, the record says a lot. And, with the Sixers, for just some reason, we're not clicking.
Mm-hmm.
But, we need to get deeper into the season. Hopefully, it's not, too deep until we maybe drop down a couple more spots. Hopefully, that doesn't happen. But, I just think, the Celtics are a competitive team, like we said the other time. Kemba is a locker room player. He will pick your team back up.
Mm-hmm.
And they just played a very good Clippers team. They have the best 2 defensive players that, are not big men in this league. And I think for Tatum, from him struggling for, the couple games during the season already, I feel as though, I want to see him do good, but there are those games to where, all right, this kid had a good game. Hopefully he's having
is the Celtics better than the Sixers still or not?
I'm not talking about that.
That was the question you were asked.
Okay, I answered it. The Celtics are a better team, soundfully.
Okay.
Because we don't have our shit together.
Okay.
So the Celtics are a more sound team. They have a lot more, pieces right now.
So tonight we got some games.
And then so it is 8:50 right now. So the Bucks and Trailblazers are playing. Sorry about that. I cut you off. Go ahead.
I just wanted to get started on tonight's games. Lillard is still out with his back, but we got a premier matchup going on. We got Melo versus Giannis. I think Melo locks him. No, that would never.
I think Melo goes for a solid
Shut your
6
mouth,
points this time.
Bowen.
But no, Melo's got his first game under his belt back in the league. You know, NBA is one of those things where it's like, you can kind of simulate it if you train with guys that play, which he did over the summer. It's going to be a good game. I think the Bucks decisively come out with it, though. I think it's going to be fun to see Melo play against guys that are fast.
Lengthy.
Against
Like
actual good players, but
Where you got winning this game?
Bucks.
I got the Bucks winning decisively.
Bucks.
So week for the group. It's gonna be. I think it's the Bucks. I've already said this. They are. It's the second quarter right now. 8 minutes and 38 seconds left in the half. Bucks are winning 44-32. Melo has 3 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 8 minutes played.
How many turnovers?
5.
Does he have 5 yesterday or 7?
The
or
team
whatever
in
it was?
total have 2, so I'm assuming it's
He's probably
either
got
1
2.
or none or 2. I don't know. But other than that, Giannis has 7 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 12 minutes played. I don't know. I think the Bucks are gonna win regardless.
Yeah, I think the Bucks win. Giannis just gotta get more than 7 points.
All right. So tonight's game, Pelicans versus Suns. The Suns are, after starting a ridiculous, let's do quick math here, 4-1. They are 3-4 in the last 7 games. They're a little bit of a slump, but they are playing a Pelicans team that's 5-9. What you guys' preview of this game?
Hot spots for the Suns to focus on against the Pelicans. They gotta slow them down. They gotta play to the tempo that they want to play at.
Mm-hmm.
If the Suns have any chance of winning this game, they gotta hope that their shooters aren't hitting, because when the Pelicans can get shots to fall, it rains. But if the Suns want to have a chance in the West to be not 7 or lower team,
A joke again.
yeah, they need to perform well while Ayton's out. They need to have better game plans going into games, because the 4 games that they lost, they looked like they weren't prepared to play the teams that they played. I forget. Oh, I don't exactly remember who it was. I was watching the game. They just looked completely out of whack. They looked like they couldn't stop. I sound like an idiot. I sound like I have no idea what I'm talking about. But they just got to have a good game plan coming in.
It was Buddy Hill, by the way. I know who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
they had no idea how
He
to
scored
stop Buddy
34
Hill.
or something like that.
It just looked like they didn't know who they were playing against. But
I mean, if you look at their past 7 games, they've lost against the Heat, the Lakers, the Celtics, and then the Kings.
the Kings was the game I was talking about.
Yeah.
It just, you should beat the Kings. I mean, Buddy Hill.
It was a 4-point game, but Buddy Hill did have 34.
Buddy Hield up until that point. I think his high for the season was like 24 or something like
I
that.
think they did good against the Celtics too, right?
I think Buddy Hill's a great player. He was my favorite player coming out of his draft, being from Oklahoma. I wanted him to win the national championship. He was my male athlete vote of the year. But that's different for the SPs and stuff like that. But that's different.
That's a
We're talking
different
about
topic.
the Suns.
God.
But I still have the Suns winning, because if you can slow down Brandon Ingram, that offense is kind of a little bit slower. And
But
Lonzo,
that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
dude. They even know who they're playing. Do they know how to stop Brandon Ingram? I don't think they do. I don't think they have that guy that can.
I think they're realizing that they're missing DeAndre Ian a lot.
Yeah, and when he comes back, he should see a lot of minutes.
Yeah.
He should be in perfect shape, that guy. I
Yeah.
don't know. I think the Suns
What do I know? I'm just the male who sits at home
Yeah, I just watch the
and
games.
delivers pizzas. No shots fired at any of you guys in this room.
I work at Big Y. So
Who do you think will win this game?
I got the Suns winning this game. It's going to be a close one.
I think the Suns.
I got an upset. Going with the Pelicans.
This
Alright.
isn't an upset game. They both stink.
Well, no, but the way you
Well,
guys
they're
are talking-
5-9, and the Suns are.
No, the way you
7
guys
and
are talking
6.
about is that the Suns are this bad of a team, but they're really not. I mean, I'm trying to word it so I don't contradict myself.
Uh-huh.
They're the Suns are a good team. They started off hot, but like you said, they played
They're
good
7-6 right
teams.
now, so.
Their past losses were good teams.
Other than the Kings.
Other than the Kings, the Kings beat the Celtics. So
they're the best team in the
Yeah.
yeah,
NBA.
they're the best
And the
team there.
Clippers beat the Celtics, so that means they're the best team. And the Bucks beat the Clippers, that means they're the best team.
No, it's just
And the Knicks almost beat the Bucks.
The
No,
Pelicans-
not even close.
Almost beat the
Whatever.
Sixers.
So
The
Zach's saying,
the Pelicans have potential
Yeah.
to actually be a contending team with young players. So I'm just gonna say I'm gonna stop here and just save time. Pelicans are I think gonna win.
I have the Suns. I like the Suns' roster better. I think that the coaching staff is better in New Orleans, but again, the Suns have been in a slump, but the Pelicans haven't been on a streak to be in a slump. They do compete though. This Pelicans team competes against big teams like the Rockets. We've seen those games where they are just like, we turn on the game and we're like, how are they competing without Brandon Ingram?
Yeah.
So this team does compete, but I just think the Suns, Devin Booker, when it comes down to it, he's the best player on that court.
Yep.
So, any other words about the NBA before we change topics here?
Before we move out of the professional basketball, I'd like to say that Frank Vogel is doing a great job as Lakers coach. I know we clowned him, and I clowned him being a Lakers fan, but his rotations are looking pretty solid.
Other than KCP being on the
Other than KCP
NBA,
even being in the NBA. But no.
I'm not saying he's terrible at basketball, but he's a terrible professional.
Basketball.
Scrape
Go
anyone
play
else.
anywhere else. Anyway, Vogel's been doing a good job. His rotations are good. The guys are staying in good minutes, consistent scoring from everybody's consistently putting up their own numbers. Guys are getting better. Cook's stepping up a little bit. Rondo just had a good night. And I mean, once this team
remember, you guys still have Cousins, so
yeah.
It also doesn't hurt being a coach having the two of the best players of right now, AD and LeBron. That definitely doesn't hurt.
How many times have we said out here that first year duos or first year super teams?
they haven't won it yet, so I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
I don't think I said anything really about that.
No,
Other than
mentions
clowning.
that's his.
Me and Testone, we always clown when we talk about LeBron and AD being the best duo. Well, it's like, yeah, well, him and Wade and Bosh were the best trio. Look at it.
Yeah, but it's a trio. That's one whole actually.
Yeah, but Bosh wasn't a duo till his second season in the Heat.
Well,
Whatever.
anyways,
So
being a coach,
Vogel's doing a great job.
having pieces definitely does help.
And,
He's doing a great job of it.
Who wins the
Who wins
Texans?
MVP? Alex Caruso.
Oh, the Texans or Colts? Go.
Colts.
Texans or the Colts?
Go.
Colts.
I'm a Texans guy. I'm going with the Texans.
I love Deshaun Watson, but
That defense.
Colts
is
has a
very
better
good.
defense. I think the Colts have a better coach.
Deshaun Watson and Dabo Sweeney's quote: "The MJ of football." He has said that.
That's funny.
I don't know who that joke is, but
The Clemson coach. That's his favorite team. Huh?
I don't care.
It doesn't matter. It's going to be a new one next year.
All right. So so now we're gonna get into our actual topics here. I'm glad we touched up on the professionals. Now, if you've noticed, if you listen, past couple of podcasts, we've slowly gotten into college sports. And when you talk about college sports, the one thing that is talked about a lot, especially this morning and yesterday, is James Wiseman. Raise your hand if you know who that is in this room. Because we talked about this before. He is the number one recruit coming out of high school last year. He lived in, I believe, Nashville or something like that. And, no, never mind. Disregard that. But he didn't live in Memphis.
Yep.
His family lived outside of Memphis. And then Penny Hardaway, who was, you know what a booster is?
Yeah.
So he gave like $1 million to their facilities, so therefore he becomes a booster. He gave this kid $11,500 to move his family from point A to Memphis.
Closer to the college.
Yes.
To be close to his
And
family.
now the NCAA is saying that isn't allowed because you are the coach. So therefore he had influences on him signing with Memphis the senior year of his high school career. So he still played anyways the first couple of games. I don't know his stats or anything, but I think he's going to be a top pick because centers, young prospects that are centers usually go top picks. Now he's suspended for the next 11 games, 12 total for the year, and the NCAA says you have to give the $11,500 to a charity of Wiseman's choice. Clause about that is the NCAA is not going to care where that money comes from.
Could also come from
a
Penny.
booster can give him that $11,500
As long as
it's in Wiseman's name.
and then Wiseman can turn around and be like, I want to give this to like a cancer research, and the NBA is going to be, or the NCAA is going to be like, you know what? Just wait your 11 games now. What do you guys think about that?
My thing is, I don't really follow college basketball a lot, so I don't really know their rules. But I honestly think, real quick, just so I know, was he already committed to that school anyways?
Yes, and this was before Penny Hardaway was even thought of a coach.
Quick timeline. Penny Hardaway's a booster. Wiseman gets moved. His family gets moved after he commits. So commit, move, and then coach. So Penny became coach after he committed, but is the reason that he moved. And I'm sure that in some types of closed doors, Penny said, "Hey, I'm probably going to be the coach."
This was before word came out though that he was probably going to be a coach. He probably just let him know like, "Yo, I'm going to be around." So
yeah, I'll be around. I'm going to be
but
with the
my
team.
thing is like, if there is no like saying that like, hey, you come to my school, I'm gonna give you the money. But if there's no rules if there's no like way of showing that evidence, then I think the NCAA should mind their own business in that respective way.
yeah.
Like for example, like NCAA football game. I know that NCAA football, NCAA basketball. They did not want their players to get paid, but yet also kept the game around
For a while, yeah.
For a while, even after all that.
Kevin
And
Love was a cover athlete.
now they're finally saying like, all right, maybe we should let our athletes get paid.
California passed the bill. New York's almost on their way.
I think it's got to be a nationwide thing, or else kids, you're going to see a lot of more like top prospects commit to California schools, New York schools.
R.J. Hampton.
So yeah, as I was
bounced and went to overseas.
As I was saying,
Yep.
that right there is gonna broaden the entire nation. Like, oh, we were losing all our 5-star prospects that want to come here just to get paid,
And
which is gonna
result in the school losing more money. With no high prospects.
Exactly, and then they're gonna be like, all right, maybe we should like allow this to happen. In this case, his family moved from point A to point B. That honestly,
for a kid, that's huge.
For a kid, that is amazing. That is a morale booster, nonetheless. It's going to show something like, hey, after a long day, I can actually see my family. I'm away from my family. I'm depressed. I'm not going to, like, let's say I don't play good.
They're your escape.
Your escape. But I feel like the NCAA, unless it's impacting the actual playing, where, like, if you come here, we'll pay you. That's completely different from what happened here.
It's basically what happened. He got paid to move his family to play for that school.
But
after he committed.
The way you guys said to me, he was already committed to the school. Then he got money to move his family.
That's why he needed the money to move to Memphis. I'm assuming that he wasn't going to move to Memphis and be like, nah, I'm going to go to like University of Tennessee.
Yeah, he probably would have went to a school closer, at another high school. But they said, hey, you'll be around Penny.
Hey.
He'll be around the team. We'll pay for you to move.
It's not like he's suspended the whole year. And it's not like he's not going to get the $11,500. I was thinking about this. I think he's just be like, you know what? I will pay the $11,500 when Memphis gives me money for playing. I don't think college athletes should get paid, but if you're making the kid pay out of his own pocket, I'm going to put that in quotes because they don't care where this money comes from. Jalen Rose and Jalen and Jacoby showed this morning emphasized that the NCAA doesn't care where that money comes from. So Penny Hardaway can just go.
So again, if they don't,
or just a booster, because I don't think the coach can actually do that. But I think another booster in their faculty or whatever.
So quick question, let's say somebody other than the coach, the assistant coach, somebody in like the school, paid for him to move his family. Would that still be grounds to him?
As long as they're not associated with the team through their Division I athletics under the NCAA bubble, then no. So let's just say
Penny Hardaway was a professor and he gave him the money, it would be enough.
Then that's stupid.
Because the NCAA is probably losing money or something.
But no. So the situation that is brought about is because the rules in the NCAA are you cannot persuade a player to play for your team. So say, if you're trying to recruit Wiseman and I'm trying to recruit Wiseman.
I got 12 G's.
If you say, I'm going to give you $11,500 to move your team out, and I can say, I can offer you a healthy environment and a good program, as well as all these other accolades, but
the
no
same
money.
Thing, but the one thing that's different is me giving him $11,500.
That's why the NCAA doesn't want people getting paid, because then it's like a free agency. You're not coming out of high school and deciding where your best environment is.
They still think you're an amateur too, and the difference between amateur and professional is professional you're getting paid at what you do for a living. Amateur is you're still mastering your skill, which I think that if we go back, say you've been to UConn games, right? Mm-hmm. They sell jerseys with letters on the back, right? Or the numbers, right?
Just numbers.
Say for example, Shabazz wore 13, right? You go in that store, there's a 13 UConn, but no Shabazz Napier on that back. You know who it is.
Yeah, I have a Jeremy Lamb jersey. Nobody knows who it is, but I know it's number 3.
Which correlates to the NCAA basketball football
so I'm
games,
saying, I know damn
this
well
rule is honestly stupid.
Kids have bought Wiseman jerseys, right? And the athletics of the university have just gone. And it's like, if the NCAA wants him to pay it out, right? Of course he's getting his school paid for and all, which I think is plenty enough, because how expensive school is. I think that he should be like, okay, have the university give me the money because I know they sell jerseys with my number on the back, and I know who that is, and everyone on the campus knows who that is.
I feel like that should be a thing. Like, you're complaining that a kid got his family moved from point A to point B
and
by somebody on the faculty, but yet the whole administration is getting their paycheck from that kid playing because they're selling a jersey without a
selling
name.
out stadiums because of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just the point.
So,
it's stupid.
Where I'm coming from with this is that like I said, like we've all talked about, I don't care if he's getting the money to move there, but if say his options were like I compared us, if he was leaning towards one school,
like
and then
Tennessee, for example,
and he's going Tennessee or Memphis, and Memphis says, "Hey, we're not as prestigious."
They're starting to come up.
We're on the come up team. We're not established. We're not a Kentucky. We're not a Duke. But hey, we got money for you and your family to move. I don't think that's right because
Penny Hardaway wasn't a coach. He's a booster, so he has the right to give money.
So you're telling me that you don't think that he knew he was going to be a coach coming around this time of year?
To be honest, I think so. Like if you're a former high school thing, like if you played sports throughout high school, you always think like the thought in your mind is, hey, I can always coach.
You're innocent until proven guilty, so you can't say he knew he was a coach without actually knowing that. Okay, I saw the text. He's going to be a coach.
Let me just.
Yeah, there you go. That's a little different.
So without that money, I doubt he goes there. I'm going to start off with that.
Okay.
And then once that money becomes a factor and the NCAA knows about it, by however they found out, and then the benefactor is playing at the school, and the donator is coaching that said player, there's something wrong in that situation that goes against NCAA guidelines, whether it's right or wrong.
Yep.
Whether the guidelines are false or whether they are bad or whether they are complete just blasphemy against players, that's where they stand, and they need to know that they violated those laws, and that whether or not it gets paid from his pocket or it gets paid from Penny's pocket or it gets paid from his cousin's brother's dog's owner's pocket, it doesn't matter. But I just think that the suspension should stay. It's fair. It's not his entire season. He still has a case to become a top pick, and he's not going to get hurt during those games. We're not going to see a similar situation as Zion where he got hurt and now he's hurt again and he might be hurt again. Or those other great college players that got hurt early in the season. This is a blessing in disguise. Because if he somehow gets injured during those first 15 games and he doesn't end up with that suspension, NCAA is like, well, now we're not making any type of money off it.
Yeah.
But the rules are in place for that reason. So that way everybody's got a fair chance to get their amateur player out of high school. And I just feel like the suspension should be upheld. I do agree that players should be able to take that money and do what they can, but it's against the rules right now. I think players should be able to get sponsorships and make money off their likenesses, but that's a different argument. In this case, suspension should be upheld.
So then before we continue, we are coming up on an hour, so we're going to take a little break. I'm sorry. I know we're in the heat of debate, but I 2-minute break? Go ahead.
All right. First of all, suspension.
2-minute drill. Boom.
All right. Suspension should be lowered to at least half, in my opinion. But also the thing is that helps it is that let's say there was no money involved. Both sides get, all right, hey, we'll pay for your school. But Memphis has that little thing like, hey, we got Penny. He stops by here and there. He could coach you sometime. Wouldn't you want to go to that, even if there is no money? If you are that top prospect, if you are that person that could get...
From a guard, yeah.
From a guard that could teach you how to shoot, how to pass the ball. I'm just rambling.
To counter real quick, you don't know if that's a situation because the money was there right after he committed. You don't know if it was just Penny, but continue.
But you had the money there afterwards, but he had to sign off saying, I am going to go there before he got the money. So it just gives him a little, hey, NBA star, I'm going to go there. He's going to help me some way, somehow.
It's all about committing. You have your visits. They tell you, they give you their pitch.
NCAA deserves money for players.
Sponsorship pay, likeness pay, but not a salary.
We are approaching an hour here. I'm sorry. But, yep, so we'll have, this is the end of part 1, and we'll have part 2 out right after this.
Just a little bit.